Welcome to a new video in my quick tip series. Today we will take a look into the intersection observer. I have several examples that showing what you can do with the intersection observer. We will go in little steps, but after all you will see that there are much possibilities with it. And yeah, quickly, intersection observer is kind of a possibility in JavaScript to check if a specific element is in the viewport and where it is placed inside of the container. It's again about the topic of scrollable, because the intersection observer also informs you if, for example, you're scrolling inside of a container and a specific element is in the viewport. We will start with a basic observer setup. You see here, like, there's multiple boxes in the scroll bar, and you see, like, here an visible checkmark, and this box is green. If we scroll down, and if you're doing it not too much, you see the box 2 at the moment not showing as not visible. If we're scrolling more, you see that it switches between that two elements if I'm reaching the box 2 with a specific amount. And that also happens for the whole boxes here. We will quickly take a look into the code. There are multiple boxes from 1 to 5, and yeah, we kind of like have the text and an object that saying visible or not visible. If we're checking in the TypeScript, you see that in Angular we have an after view init that get called when the component is fully rendered, because that's important, because if you want to access some elements and you like calling it before the HTML elements existing, as for example the onInit, but here we have the after view init that get called when the component is fully rendered into the HTML. Here we have some options and kind of a threshold. And the intersection observer, as you can see here, is a class that you can create that allows you to say it should inform you when the elements you adding to this observer get changed or have a different attribute. This threshold kind of telling that the element should be kind of be 0.5 into the viewport. Here we're creating the intersection observer with these entries, that the object you're getting here is like a list of elements, and this only containing elements you adding to this observer. If it get called, that's each time it detecting a other element or something changes based on the settings you are making. And here you see we iterating through all entries, and every entry represents one element you added as to be shown or as to be looked to, and then we're checking if this entry is intersecting. If it's intersecting, we're changing the class of this element to visible. If it is not intersecting or is not in the viewport, we're removing the visible. After we creating this intersection observer, we adding all boxes. Here you see like this method in Angular to get all elements that have a specific reference, as you can see here. And here we get every element that has this reference, and iterating through all of them and adding them as to be observed. You can't do this if you're getting or using a function that is before the after view init. Like ng on init, you don't get the native elements of this because the HTML is not rendered at that moment. Yeah, that's kind of all, and then the CSS make the rest, and writing not visible or visible in the after element of the visibility status. If you want to take a deeper look into the code, you can access it from GitHub. And that's kind of the base observer. We kind of adding some elements to the observer and want to get informed if something changes for the what is intersecting, and also want to get through all elements and checking if they are intersecting and adding the class to visible. This also would work if you're using smaller elements. In my example, like the element is nearly as big as the content, but here you see that at that moment both elements kind of are intersecting. Yes. Okay. Let us go to the next example. You are a front-end developer working with Angular. I have created a course for everyone wanting the latest info on Angular 17 and 18. It covers built-in control flow, standalone components, signals, migrating to Angular 17, and building an app from scratch. The course is in the description. Lazy loading components. For this, you have to briefly look, because here we have different elements, and if I scroll down now, you see that they are appearing while I'm scrolling down. If you're looking at the loading, if I'm clearing that up, you see that these elements, similarly like our lazy loading, get loaded after a few seconds or after when I'm reaching the point. But also what happens is if I'm clearing it up and go to this element, you see that at that moment we have here all elements. That's really important to understand. We have all elements, and we determine based if they are intersecting if we want to load the image of it. If we now looking at the lazy loading, you see that we have here the image card with multiple images, and we're setting here an attribute data image ID with the image.id. We will quickly take a look into the images. We have here an array that kind of repeats, that have multiple IDs and have the links for the image. We also have here an image for a thumbnail URL and a full image URL. What happens here is that if we're repeating or rendering all images, but we also setting up an intersection observer, again, making this intersection observer and iterating through all image containers. Important to understand, it's similarly like the other one. We getting all image containers. If we look here, the image container is set in here, and we kind of getting all image containers by this way to few children, and then you're getting a list of all elements that have this reference. And here we then going through all image containers, adding them as an observer, and if the element is intersecting, we getting the image ID by getting the attribute from the target element, and then saying we want to load the image, and this kind of searching for the right image, checking if it is loaded, and if it is not loaded, we making a new image, make the full image URL, and load it. That means we kind of lazy loading the images but we have thumbnail URLs to kind of show a different image. We can, we're choosing the speed to be relatively small, we will see if this works as expected. If I'm scrolling now down, you see that we have here loading, and it now trying to load the images, and then you see that it replaces the images that previously was used as a thumbnail and showing then the final result. This example is again not perfectly because I'm using here images that are very small and they are random. That means the preview image not matching with the real image, but if you would have this separation, you could achieve some images that have a preloaded image and then getting a better resolution image after the user sees the content. That's kind of all about the lazy loading. In the next part, we will go over some more complex examples. Hopefully you liked the video and subscribed, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.